Hello, welcome to the Left Behind podcast. My name is Zachary Fuller. Today we have a very special episode because I am discussing with some of the former students of the Griffin Academy of Music how the greatest reunion ever went. Last Sunday is when we had that free concert as a tribute to Mr. Don and Matthew Jameson. So I'm going to be discussing with them how that came to be, why we did it, and all types of things like that. I do want to apologize right off the top. I am sicker than a wet dog in winter. So please, I apologize for the way I sound and how slow my brain's working right now, but we got to keep this thing moving, and that's what we do in today's episode. All right, thank you both of you for coming on the podcast. We just put on our tribute concert for Mr. Don as the former students of the Griffin Academy of Music last Sunday. And so we can just jump straight into, I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Whoever would like to go first.
I'll let Birsa go first.
Why does Birsa always have to go first? Okay. Hello. I am Birsa, the oldest former student of the Griffin Academy of Music. Our concert was pretty cool. There's a YouTube link if anybody wants to share that.
That'll be in the description.
Cool.
I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Caitey. I learned with Mr. Don from the time I was 8 or 9 years old to the time that I was 18, and I briefly took over as the boys' teacher and very quickly realized that I have no idea how to do what Mr. Don does, because he's a truly amazing man. And I really had fun seeing all of my former peers at the recital. It was really good to get to be able to see everybody again.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of the other students aren't going to be able to be here tonight, like Colby and Marie, who performed. Kelly might join in later. She's having some technical difficulties. But Birsa, you're the one who wanted to put on this concert. It was your idea. What inspired you to actually try and get us back together?
Well, not only was Mr. Don's health jeopardizing the little time that he does have left here, I feel like with everything that life has thrown in our paths, it just coming together and reliving old times kind of reminds you where you came from, and it just helps make things a little better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's a big task for you since you now live so many states away, for you to be the one to actually say to everybody that we should put on a concert again.
Well, I feel like distance really doesn't have a factor in, not to me at least, it doesn't have a factor in when you truly have a passion for something or you truly want to continue to do that passion. You will do anything and everything to make sure it gets done. You got to work hard. You got to be motivated to do it. And trust, there were a couple points in time where I was just not with it, but at the end of the day, our family needed to have a reunion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to get into some of those bumps along the way of trying to set up this concert. But first, I sort of want to hear from both of you of what this meant to you and what being a student at the Griffin Academy of Music when Mr. Don was teaching there was like, and how it impacted you and what it meant. Either one of you would like to go first.
I think for me, coming together to do this. One, like Birsa said, we needed to get back together. It reminded us of where we came from, and it was really nice to be able to see everybody again and kind of go back in time a little bit to remember Mr. Don. And Mr. Don's lessons really did mean a lot to me. Like in my speech, which is in the video that will be in the description, I said that in the probably 10 years that I went to lessons with Mr. Don, I probably only missed 5 because those days were my safe space. And those were when I could really, truly be myself, aside from learning how to use my voice and learning how to read music and things like that. You could really, truly be yourself with him. And it felt good to have, that dedicated time, like once a week or whenever you went, that you could really be yourself and, fulfill a passion that you had.
Yeah, that's a lot of it for me, was because you're the one who introduced me to Mr. Don and convinced me to start going. Oh, Kelly's joining in now. Awesome. But yeah, that once a week with Mr. Don really was a time to be yourself, and he really was a good friend. Hello, Kelly?
I made it.
Yay. We were just talking about what our time at the Griffin Academy of Music learning under Mr. Don meant to us. If you wanted to say anything about that from your perspective.
Yeah.
Also do a quick introduction for yourself.
Well, so hey, I'm Kelly. I am 22 years old, from Griffin, Georgia. So I started taking voice lessons from Mr. Don when I was 8, and then I met Birsa like a year later, maybe a few weeks later. She started teaching me, and he started teaching me. We started off in a very small itty bitty room. It was right in Griffin too. But Mr. Don was always a great mentor, and he taught us a lot. He meant a lot to us. He means a lot to us. I mean,
Yeah.
What has everyone else already said something?
Birsa, did you want to say anything about your time at the Griffin Academy and what it meant to you?
My time was very long. My mom actually was the one who found Mr. Don. She had been searching for a vocal coach for me since I was a lot younger than 9 years old, because I've had a passion for singing since I was like 3. But when she finally found Mr. Don, he was only accepting students in their freshman year of high school and up. And when my mother went to go have a face-to-face with him, he proceeded to tell her that he only was teaching a certain age group. And when she told me that at 9 years old, my stubborn, bull-headed butt was like, you know what? Take me to this guy. I'm gonna make him eat them words. And I did. And I feel like that is what overturned his thinking, that if you get at them young, they're like sponges, we learn a lot. But even after I moved to North Carolina in 2011, I think I was around 15, I still kept in contact with Mr. Don. I still tried to, anytime I went to visit, I would always go to his store, and if he had a student, I would immediately jump in and help. He just, with all the crap that I've gone through in my life, he's been the one constant thing that has never changed. He's been so kind. He's always loved his students, loved teaching them, loved showing them, helping them grow. Like, I don't know, and that energy just, it really helped to shape and round out my edges, because I was a troubled child. And if it wasn't for Mr. Don, I don't think I would have had any sanity to get me through this bull crap we call life.
Yeah, Mr. Don really had a really positive impact on a lot of kids in the Griffin area. I mean, I said this at the concert, but I truly feel like I wouldn't have done the things that I've done that involve like socializing with people or kind of performing on stage, if it hadn't been for Mr. Don. He really helped me with my confidence, public speaking, being myself, and like generally just both believing in myself and knowing how to present myself to an audience. And I'm sure he's done that for everybody, whether they took lessons with him twice or went for years. So I wasn't there for Delia's little shop. Do any of you want to talk more about like how that started and how that led to the Griffin Academy of Music?
I just
Yes. Do you
go
remember,
ahead.
Caitey?
Yeah, I remember. It was Delia's Music Solutions. It was this really old lady, and she used to sell pianos and organs and other instruments. And out, like, there was a hallway that stemmed off of like the main like sales floor, and on that hallway there was a little tiny room where somehow or another there was a piano fit in there, and Mr. Don could fit in there, and like one, maybe two people could fit in there. And I remember the day that we moved out of that little room because my father had a school bus that had like a wheelchair lift on it. And I remember we loaded the piano up onto the wheelchair lift and then brought it to where the current business is.
Just a little side note, Delia was married to my bus driver at the time.
Wow, small world.
Yeah.
Weird.
So Caitey, if you don't mind speaking about it, your father was very important in Mr. Don's life, especially with his business. Do you want to talk about how that connection grew and developed, and like sort of how he was involved with the business?
Sure thing. So when I first started taking lessons, my dad wasn't really involved with the actual like lessons or anything like that. He sat out in the lobby and waited for me to finish up my lessons, and then we would go home and they would speak very briefly, about my progress. And then over time, the longer that I stayed and the longer that Mr. Don and my father, kind of talked and mingled, they became closer and closer, and they became like best friends. And by the time that we were leaving, my dad had helped with getting the space for where it currently is. He had helped, and he'd put his name on like the lease and put his name on the bills and stuff like that, because I don't remember the logistics of it or anything like that, but I know my dad's name was on quite a few of the bills and stuff like that, I guess because maybe there was good credit or something or the other. But my dad helped with that. And even back when we were still in the tiny little room in the piano store, my dad, he would do all the stuff that we had to do like digitally. So he would download all of the tracks and put them on CDs or USB drives. And eventually he started to write and design the programs and the tickets and the flyers. And he would go and he would print those with money out of his own pocket. And then, eventually he just became a bigger and bigger part of it. And he was credited in multiple programs, and they were just best friends. My dad did a lot for the business, including putting his name on the lease. He wasn't just a guy who volunteered to write and do the programs, but he also put his own money into the business and our concerts and fully supported not only me, but the rest of the students. And it really sucked, when he did pass away, because, having to be the one to tell Mr. Don that, his best friend had passed was probably one of the hardest things about that entire encounter. Not encounter, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I sort of want to come back to that after Mr. Don left later, but I do want to ask Birsa, when you started taking lessons with Mr. Don, was he already doing concerts?
Oh yeah, he full-fledged put on concerts all the time. I'd never like personally attended one until I was involved, but he always kept, I guess you could say, like a memory book or like a record book of all of his concerts and performances. He always had flyers and tickets and all that stuff. Basically just like things that helped
Record.
I guess like Matt and whoever else participated, like Kelly's mom did it also.
Yeah, my
She
mom actually
wrote the programs and
yeah, she would type them up or something. Yeah, type up what would be printed and given out at the shows.
Yeah, it was like my dad designed them, and I think your mom typed them and stuff like that.
Yes, so that was cool. My mom got involved. It's funny because the same way with Birsa, my mom got me involved. Like, it was just fun looking for a singing teacher, and just
Yeah,
found Mr. Don. Took me
my
there one day.
experience was different from y'all's because I found Mr. Don through Birsa. So
I remember y'all snitches.
Were the concerts already at the church that we usually had our concerts at?
No, actually, the first church that they used,
I don't think I went to.
Yeah, you did. It was you know where the Burger King is? Like right across the street from
yeah, I
Griffin.
do remember.
Yeah.
There's a church right across the street from there.
That's
the first church that we used to use. And then we used I
want to say it jumped
Way.
around, didn't it?
Yeah, it did actually. Eagles Way didn't actually come into play until
I think my first performance was at Eagles Way in the smaller auditorium that they had.
It wasn't until all of his older students, because I was the youngest out of all the students. Like, as other students were like 17 and 23, and Mr. Lee, he was the oldest student. He was right around Mr. Don's age. He was like 50 something. But all of his older students had already left before we actually moved to Eagles Way.
Do you think, or do you know if that was part of the decision, or is that just when the opportunity came?
Unfortunately, the reason why we changed churches was because there was a disagreement between the owner of the church across the street from the Burger King. They kind of like would butt heads. Because do you remember when I told you that we used to do benefit concerts and we would have like a cashier's check to hand to the Stepping Stones Academy for disabled children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we were at the other church before we went to Eagles Way, they would take half of our profits, so we would have less money to give to the children because you used all the sound system and the space and this, that, and the third, and it wasn't very churchy.
So instead of a quoted price, they wanted half of no matter what you raised. That's crazy.
It was horrible. but with Eagles Way, they only charge us to rent the space. Depending on if Jacob was going to be running the sound booth or not, they wouldn't charge us for that. If we did donations, then we'd automatically give them a cut regardless, because that's just how Mr. Don was. He made sure everybody got their fair share.
Jacob Joyner, right?
Jacob Joyner? Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of 2018 is when Mr. Don moved to Virginia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making sure I
He
remember.
moved in November of 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so originally, when he had to move, the business was given to you, Caitey, right?
Well, the business was not given to me. It was actually given to the current owner, Ryan.
Okay.
However, there was no voice teacher. So I was kind of like the stand-in, I guess, because I had been there for so long and it was just kind of defaulted to me. And I'll be honest, I did not know how to structure my lessons. I did not know, how to do the lessons, how to do all the warm-ups that Mr. Don did. It was very much a struggle for me. And I think I left in April or March of 2019 just because, I just couldn't figure out how to do it. And I did not want to miseducate, the students that did come in. Because I didn't want to be like, oh, do it this way, and then that'd be completely wrong. So it was kind of defaulted to me just because I had been there the longest and I kind of knew, just based on my own lessons. But it just was not for me at that time. And I was just kind of the stand-in until they could find somebody that was more educated in actual music than I was, because I was still in high school.
Okay. Kelly, you said you blame yourself?
Yeah, because I was gonna help too. Like, I was supposed to, be a part of helping that, at Griffin Academy of Music after Mr. Don left. But I had struggles in my own life, so I've just, that didn't happen. That's not how it turned out.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't blame any of you for what happened. It was very sudden and none of us were prepared for anything like that. But I was just wondering, Caitey, if you wanted to talk about if you knew like how the restructuring happened, like after he left, since you were the most involved, like was it very disorganized or?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say it was disorganized. I would say it was just different, because when I started, I had to pay, it was either weekly or monthly. I had to pay a fee for using the space. But the thing was, I didn't know how much Mr. Don charged his students. I didn't know, I didn't have the confidence to be like, hey, okay, I need $150. I didn't know how to do rates and stuff like that. And so when the time would come for my monthly fee, I would have to get money from, my own pocket and from my father's pocket, because I didn't know what to charge people. I would just hope that people would give me money.
$85 a student.
Yeah. But I did not know that at that time.
We also had sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, I did not know how to do all of that. And so I had like a monthly fee, and I also didn't have very many students because after Mr. Don left, most of his students did. So I had probably like 4 or 5 students, and I would see them all on one day. So for like anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours a day on Saturdays, I would, go in there and do my best to teach people how to, do what Mr. Don taught them, but I was nowhere near as educated. I was nowhere near as I don't know how to put it. I was nowhere near as like well-spoken as he was. I didn't know how to be like, use your diaphragm more, or, raise your eyebrows when you're hitting high notes, because I had no idea how to speak that, to vocalize that. So I did not do a very good job, and I do feel bad about, wasting that space, but it was just what I knew how to do at the time. And as far as the reorganizing was, it was like there was a monthly fee and it had to be paid on time at the, and the latest that I could pay it was like the day after, because the current owner, he's very, very much like rigid with like that schedule,
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed that from what I've seen is that it's a lot more rigid now. And when Mr. Don was there with the rates, from what I gathered was each student had a different rate they paid, and that Mr. Don tried to like sort of structure it based on the economic circumstances of the student rather than a flat rate.
Right, because he wanted to be able to teach everyone the best that he could. So if he knew that you were from like a higher income family, he would be able to charge you like the normal rate. But if you were poorer, if you did not have the financial means to actually take lessons for the right rate, he would decrease those rates for you. Mm-hmm. Because he was very understanding of things like that, and he wanted to be able to teach you. He didn't want somebody to go without fulfilling their passion just because they couldn't pay for it.
Yeah, and that's one of the many ways that I think someone like Mr. Don can really impact a community like Griffin, is he would try and help everyone in whatever way he could and work with anybody. And of course, give back to the community by doing sponsorships for the shows. So I feel like it was generally just a really good small business for the community.
Right.
But putting the show together had a lot of, it went very different from how I thought it would when it started. Trying
Absolutely.
to do this tribute show. Right after we started, there was like over 30 people who joined the group chat, the original group chat. And by the time, does anyone remember how long ago that was? Like, Birsa, when did we start planning?
Like November.
It was like November.
Yeah, it was the end of October, beginning of November.
Okay. So over the 4 months, it whittled all the way down to 7 people.
No, not even. I don't think. Hold on. Let me see when we started it, because I still have the message that was sent to me from Mr. Don telling me about his health. October 25th of last year. Yeah, he messaged me and said, "All right, my girl, I almost joined your dad yesterday. I lived and I'm in the hospital." And that same day, we got a message. We were all in a group chat with all of these former students, and Birsa was like, "All right, let's put together a show. Let's honor Mr. Don, because we don't know how much time he has left, and it would be like our last hurrah for Mr. Don."
Right. And originally Mr. Don was originally we were actually gonna go to Virginia to do this show.
I don't know if we would have actually been able to do that.
We were gonna like rent a bus and go.
Where there was a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Don said that we should do it in Griffin, which is where it all started.
Well, can I just say that, that's kind of messed up that Mr. Don even told us that. But Mr. Don, the things that he would randomly send and say, like, I don't know if that's a good time to get on that topic, but he just said some things that you probably, shouldn't say.
Do you want to give any more specific examples?
Like the way he would word his messages, the way he would word his messages would make it seem like he's saying goodbye, or he's like saying early goodbye, like. And it would be very depressing, because if you would try to reach out like directly after him sending that message, he wouldn't respond, or he wouldn't call or anything like that.
We would go like days without hearing from him.
It would freak you out.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like you shouldn't have done that to us. Kind of like played mind tricks on us.
Well,
he's also just old.
Yeah, he's busy. He still teaches regularly, and during that 4-month time span, he had been in the hospital for something, and then he had two different surgeries. So,
Yeah.
Originally, before I got pregnant with my first child, I was going to be a sub teacher, like underneath Mr. Don. You know what I'm saying?
Right, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a student teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I made some pretty tough decisions. And then it
That's life.
was on to Kelly, because she's the second oldest student. And then life happened, and
it went on to me.
Oh my gosh. My dog just started going crazy.
Is that barbecue sauce?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
I'm going to pause the recording real quick.
Horrible.
All right, today I've got to tell y'all about William Harris's campaign for State House District 74. Now, this is an important campaign because State House District 73, which is in the same area that 74 is now because redistricting happened, in 2020 was the most likely seat in the Georgia State Legislature to flip. Now, we didn't get that flip to happen, but now we've got more name recognition, and William has a better staff and a better campaign opportunity. We're going to flip State House District 74 from red to blue. And William is not a normal Democrat. He's not some corporatist, milquetoast Democrat. He is a representative of the people. And that's what his website is. repofthepeople.com. repoftheppl.com. And I want you to go sign up if you care about democracy. Sign up, give your email so you can stay updated on this campaign. Now, District 74 reaches into Fayette County, Georgia, the west side of Spalding County, Georgia, as well as the city of Hampton in Henry County. But even if you live outside of that, this is a very important race because of how competitive it is and how likely it is to flip. Also, the incumbent has co-sponsored and written some of the worst laws. She's actually one of the representatives that wrote HB769 that I discuss in some of my other episodes of this podcast. So please sign up for that. It's very important. Some of his main platform positions are decriminalizing marijuana, expanding healthcare in the state of Georgia, as well as protecting our environment. So go to repoftheppl.com now and give your email and donate if you have the fortune to do so.
It just life hit us very unexpectedly in many different ways. So I guess the torch had to be passed at some point.
Mm-hmm. So most of the time we were planning the reunion concert, we were going to have it at the church, the last church that the students were singing at, Eagles Way.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 4 days before the concert happened, they said that we're not allowed to use the church anymore. Does anyone want to explain what happened? Because of course we all know, but who wants to lay it out?
Well, it was relayed to me, but I think the first person to have contact with the reason for that was Birsa. So I'll let Birsa touch on it first.
You're
Be careful, she might see this.
Yeah, we don't have to use real names if you don't feel comfortable doing that, but
well,
Barbara.
Sandra.
Oh,
Triggered. I don't give a crap. Called me my last day in Georgia the weekend before the concert. And she was No, concerned wasn't even the word. She was very nasty. It was very nasty and telling me
Ugly.
that she had no idea that this was going on, that we had to take things down, that it was all a scam. We're just trying to scam people for money,
Or
like a whole bunch
drugs.
of stuff. And, and then it escalated from there because once I sent the message out to the group chat, then everybody started getting bombarded with Sandra.
I never heard from her.
Lucky.
You're lucky because she really lashed out really towards me and Kelly because, we're
She was
pro marijuana. We had children. We dropped out of school. Whatever the fuck, whatever happened. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, our life. She just, I don't know.
she really used your pasts against you because I remember I sent her a message and it was very kindly worded and she read it and then she called me and she said, I hope you're not hanging around with those two girls and they're nothing but trouble. And she was like, you're just going to use all the money for alcohol and drugs and you're scamming people out of their money under the guise of charity. And I was like, no, that's not what's happening. And also, it's not your business who I hang out with, and it's not your business what their past is because they're different people now, and they're also good people regardless of their past.
In our intentions, we made super clear that any proceeds that we had made from this concert were going to be sent to Mr. Don for his medical bills.
And she took that as an insult. She thought that we were calling them poor.
Right? She texted me like, "We can pay our own bills. We don't need your money."
Rich people are built different.
I mean, okay. People think different. Listen, I have tasted from both spoons because at one point I did have a lot of, like, my family was very wealthy. Whoa. I don't want to say is because that could put some targets on people's backs. But and then once I started making bad decisions, I was left to reap what I sowed. I was homeless, or sleeping on a crackhead's couch or something like that. Point is, I didn't have any money. I went from having everything that I could ever want to having nothing. So I feel like, in a way, I understand why she reacted the way she did. But what I don't understand is, from the jump, the adamancy of this concert revolving around her husband in the first place. Because that was the sole purpose of the like, it wasn't for any of us, it was for him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't make any profits from this. It was all going to him originally.
Right. And then we just didn't make any profits because, we had to pay dues. We had to buy flyers and a banner and tickets and a plaque and things like that. And all of a sudden, all of our donations were gone. You know?
I mean, it cost almost $1,000 to put on the show as is, but also even after we were told that they didn't need the money, we weren't going to profit it. We were going to give it to charity once we found out that they didn't need the money.
Right.
It was never for profit.
No, like none of us were going to get the money or anything like that. Nobody was going to get reimbursed. It was solely for, originally Mr. Don's family and mainly for him. And then when we were told that they did not need the money, it was immediately decided, okay, then it's going to go to charity.
The original charity.
Yeah, stepping stones.
Yeah, I think I actually have a newspaper clipping of us handing the check over to them. I can look for it.
That's cool.
Um, I just, I did. At the end of the day, she had her reasons for acting the way she did, for saying what she said, for doing what she did, whatever. She's old. Okay. She's lived her life probably not the way she wanted to, which is why she was taking it out on us. And that's fine. We did what we set out to do. And that
I think
was
I was gonna say, I think the part that bothered me most about the way that she was just completely harassing us was, not only was it complicating the show, but also she was removing any way of us to contact Mr. Don, because she went into his account and blocked all of us and then deleted our numbers from his cell phone. The only way that he was able to get in touch with Kelly was while he was in the middle of teaching, so that he wasn't around her.
Yeah, it was sad. He had to call me and tell me how insane that she was acting and that we were not going to be able to get through to her, that it was pretty much useless to even try to talk to her at all.
Yeah, I called him one day, and he was in the middle of a lesson with a student, and he told me that he'd call me back later when he didn't have a student with him, and he never did. But I just assumed he didn't because she had gone in and blocked all of y'all's numbers, and so I just assumed that she did that for me too after that, which is very sad because even after he moved in 2018, we would still keep in contact, and he really.
Right.
Especially at very critical moments in my life, would reach out to me and talk to me and still genuinely help me out as a friend. And now I feel like I couldn't even reach out to him if I wanted to anymore, even though he may not even be here very much longer.
Right, which I think that's the worst part of it all, is because not only do we not know what's going on with him now, but there's no way for us to get into contact with him, because if something were to happen, how would we know?
Right, because she wouldn't tell us, and his children don't know us. At least they don't know
Right.
me. This has gotten into a very emotional place that I didn't quite expect. I don't know why I didn't, but I guess it brings me to my next question, which is like, does anybody want to talk about why they chose the songs they did? Because for me, looking at the set list and then watching the concert, it seemed very themed and very intentional.
For me, my songs, let me look at my set list real quick here. I know, let's see. So, our song, Zachary, it was just one that we had done previously. But specifically, Don't You Remember, is a song that I specifically chose to sing, because Mr. Don always, anytime that I sung it or performed it, he always said that he wanted me to perform that at his funeral, and we didn't know, and I didn't know, will we ever see him again? And that song, the lyrics, it starts off, when will I see you again? And I chose that song specifically for Mr. Don because of those reasons. And then Landslide is a very emotional song. It's about getting older. And, I figured that fit the theme. And, Simple Man was not necessarily dedicated to Mr. Don. It was dedicated to my father. And My Heart Will Go On has a special place in my heart as well, because me and Birsa, when I first started singing at the Griffin Academy of Music, she was the one person I wanted to do all of my duets with, and we chose that song. I think because at the time I was obsessed with Titanic, but that was the first song that she and I ever did together. And I figured that would be a pretty good throwback.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about Mr. Don saying that to you years ago, and it definitely, that song is always very emotional, but it definitely hit harder because we're in this situation now where we really don't know if we'll hear from him again. You know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I know that For Good was very emotional for Birsa and Kelly. Did you guys want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, that song's always been real good personal with us. Birsa actually chose my songs just because she knew I'm not good. I've never been good at picking my own songs. I don't know why, but they really
Well,
those were
the
meaningful.
reason I chose White Baby Grand for you was because I remember how Mr. Don reacted to hearing you sing it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He got very teary-eyed, and he loved the way you sounded on it. And also For Good, yeah, it was super emotional because Kelly and I, in a sense, kind of grew up together with Mr. Don.
Yeah.
And when we got older, the hardships of life really took a toll on us, and we had each other
Yeah.
to hold on to. And Mr. Don was right there. I even have the video of us singing it, and Sandra calling in the background, yelling at Mr. Don in the middle of the freaking lesson. But anyway, I chose that song as the ending song or Caitey and I made the decision to make it the ending song because we knew him, we had been changed for good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
It just,
I think it was a great choice for the last song. I think the last two ending songs were. I think that y'all song was a good choice for one of the last ones too.
yeah, For Good really felt like the theme and the reason we did the whole concert was that he changed all of our lives for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I also thought White Baby Grand was a great choice because I had never heard that song before, but the lyrics reminded me a lot of the situation at the Griffin Academy of Music when he was teaching there. Like the piano wasn't in perfect condition. There were some keys that were out of tune, a little broken,
Mm-hmm.
but we really made it great. Like every concert we did, it was its own its own little great thing.
Yep, that's for sure.
Birsa, did you want to talk about your solos or anything?
One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston was chosen because I remember that was one of the last songs that I had fully sung. I was 8 months pregnant with my second child, and the lyrics, I don't know, just when he showed me the song, because Mr. Don was actually the one who showed me the song, and the lyrics kind of hit home because we really are racing with destiny, like trying to figure out where in the moment of time we fit in. So that fit. I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston. Like I had said earlier, it doesn't matter how far away we are from each other. That love, the connection that we all have together, it doesn't go away.
That's for damn sure.
So,
Because I mean, we all picked back up like we had been talking the entire time.
Mhm.
You know,
we just hit pause for just a brief moment. What was the other one?
a moment like this.
A moment like this. I was the night before the concert, actually, I was debating on whether I was going to sing it or not. Because that ending note, I had originally started with Mr. Don singing opera. I was singing Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, me too.
But your girl had a couple years smoking, and you hear this bass in my voice, right? So, I was definitely having some self-doubts, but I ended up going through with it because when, if not now, when? And so I would have gone a whole lifetime waiting for a moment like this.
Yeah.
What about you, Zachary? What about your songs?
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah.
You asked all the questions.
Well,
No, wait. First you got to give yourself an introduction. You got to do all the
you got to start.
You can't just
I didn't
give one
introduce
of-
myself because my audience would already know me, but I'm Zachary Fuller. I'm a political organizer in Spalding County, which I wouldn't
There
have
they go.
become if it wasn't for Mr. Don, because I was very shy and I thought I would be like a wedding DJ my whole life, which is what I was doing at the time when I was taking lessons. But now I'm a public performer in a different way. I'm a politician. That's my introduction, and I wouldn't have done it without Mr. Don. My song choice, of course, I asked if you would do Mad World again, Caitey, because that was one of the few songs that I still had access to on video, and I felt like I kind of dropped the ball on it a little bit and wanted to redo it. Honeybee was the one that everyone said was like the best song that I was a part of, so I wanted.
That was like the best song. Especially the harmonies and everything. It was so good, especially the first time and this time. It was so good.
But my solos, of course, were more pointed at the theme of this being for Mr. Don.
Oh, I loved I Am What I Am, dude. That was great.
Yeah. So as I said at the concert, Mr. Don showed me that song because like one of the things about going to his lessons is, as we all said, you could talk about anything. And so a lot of things that I wasn't able to talk to a lot of other people about out of fear of judgment, like sexuality, religion, all different types of stuff. He was always there and open about it and wouldn't judge me and would always listen and then give his honest opinion in a non-negative way. And then he showed me when we were preparing for our last concert, before I knew it was going to be the last concert, I think. I mean, it was very early on. It may have even been the one before the last one. He showed me that song and said that he thinks I would sound really good on it. But I had never heard it before, and it was kind of complex, so we didn't do that one. I was already planning on doing some other songs. And so then he never got to see me do it. I never got to perform it live. And especially now, because I came out as being non-binary in 2019, especially now, it really feels like it's a very fitting song. And in a way, I think Mr. Don knew that from knowing me on a deeper level than even I did at the time, right? And so I felt like I needed to do that song. It was one of the first ones I thought of like, he specifically gave this to me,
Right.
the reason I chose New York, New York is I was thinking about my first song that I ever performed other than like a kindergarten musical where it's like the whole class singing. Like the first song I ever performed by myself was at a Griffin Academy of Music concert, and it was My Way by Frank Sinatra. But I chose to do another song that I had done before by Frank Sinatra, New York, New York. So it has the Frank Sinatra to call back to the beginning, but I chose that because after Mr. Don left, like after he moved to Virginia, I had decided to, instead of following what my plan had been in life of going to a college in Savannah, I was like, I'm going to move in with my friends in Atlanta and try and make it as an artist and an activist. And so that song kind of hits on that. And when everything was falling apart, when the pandemic was starting, or a couple months after the pandemic had started, and I didn't know how I was going to survive, and I was genuinely losing my mind and was not eating enough and having panic attacks and all these things, Mr. Don called me out of the blue and asked me how I was doing. We had a long conversation about a lot of things, and that really gave me hope to think that while I'm here suffering, he was thinking about me and reminiscing about like all the time we spent together. And so I felt like bringing both the first song and the sort of what happened in my life and how Mr. Don helped me through that together was perfect for New York, New York.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. That's really touching though.
All right. So does anyone want to add anything else about the whole process of the concert or how it went or time at Griffin Academy? This is open-ended. This is the time for anything.
Your girl was freaking stressing.
Yeah, a couple days before the concert happened, you seemed like you wanted to just call it off.
I know. I remember you texted the group chat. You were like, should we even do this thing? And I was like, no. And I gave my little motivational little tiny paragraph. I was like, we worked our butts off. This isn't for us. It's for Mr. Don. We've already put so much work in. We're doing it.
Literally put hundreds of dollars into it, as well as many hours of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Sandra, if you're watching this, I just wanted to let you know.
We didn't.
You're lucky. You're lucky. I didn't pull up. You're lucky I didn't pull up.
We
That's
got
a
that
joke.
voter registration. That's a joke.
I know where you did. I'm just kidding.
Let's not get in legal trouble.
Yeah.
I was just kidding. Bruh. I'm just saying, like, if it wasn't for all the crap, days before the concert,
Oh my God. Days before the concert, having to advertise and be like, okay, we're not doing it here anymore. We're going to do it over here. And then be like, oh, never mind. We're going to do it back at the same original place. And then be like, oh, never mind. It's actually going to be the other place.
Yeah.
let's play ping pong. Why not?
Literally from that Saturday where we had a rehearsal to Tuesday, I was handing out those flyers at businesses all over Griffin, Zebulon, Williamson. Like I handed out so many flyers. They were up on they're still up on the windows and the bulletin boards of different businesses all over our area. And then
And it was the wrong address.
And then Wednesday, the next day, I find out that we can't use the church anymore.
And then me and Zachary on like the Friday before the show, literally like 2 days before the show, we go to the church and we're trying to talk to the church manager, the pastor or whatever. We're like, please let us use it. And he was like, I cannot in good faith do this. I am so sorry. Because he understood what we were going through. Mm-hmm. But he was like, I can't in good faith because, he probably faced repercussions from Mrs. Tennyson. Yeah. So it was like, I understand, but also I'm very mad at you.
Yeah. I was glad that he was at least willing to, one, speak to us kindly, and then also he let us put a poster up on the door so that people would see the new address, even though I don't think if anyone went to the church, they did not come to the coffee shop.
No, it was mostly our family at the coffee shop.
Yeah. And then also he offered to let us record speeches on the stage so we would at least be at the place we used to perform at, which we ended up declining out of our own convenience. We had a lot of shit to do on the day of the concert.
Right, because there was no way, because he wanted us to come in at like 4:30, but we were supposed to be at the coffee shop at like 5, and I was like, there's no way that we can record anything in 30 minutes and get to the coffee shop on time. Yeah. So I ended up having, because he thought when I was hanging the poster up, he thought we were still recording. And I was like, oh, no, actually, go ahead and go home, actually, because we're just going to do it at the coffee shop.
Yeah, look, he accidentally called me, and then I called him. I guess he butt dialed me. I called him back, and I was like, yeah, you called? He said, yeah, they gave, he was like, yeah, they came and left a sign and left. He was like, they came and left, he was like, they just came and left a sign and left. And I was like, okay. Like, I know, but like, and he was like, just silent. I was like, so, like, is there, and he was like, I guess, did you miss a call from me? I said, I guess so. You must have called me. I don't know. It was stupid. He was just very confused.
Poor guy. He got dragged into the middle of all this.
I know. He was just trying to be nice.
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the whole drama with Sandra, it was just drama for no reason. Like, it just made our lives harder for no reason, because we still did exactly what we planned on doing.
And it was awesome. Suck it.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
Right.
We put on
that after party though.
Concert.
Yeah, that was fun.
We were party rocking. We were party rocking in the Moose Lodge tonight.
That was the first. That's the first song we played on the karaoke thing when we got into the bar room. That was the first song I played this morning.
We were shuffling.
Yeah, Birsa, after you asked me to use my house as the place for the party, the potluck, I was like, yeah, of course, but this would have been an awful place to have it, because like my floor is caving in. Huh?
You have a yard.
Yeah, I have a yard and a fire pit, but like, you know, I asked my dad if I could use the Moose Lodge since he manages it, and I told him it'll probably only be like 2 hours. We'll probably be out of there before 10. And then if he hadn't have cut us off, we probably would have been there all night.
Probably.
I would have found my husband asleep on the pool table with his pants down.
Wait, you found the pool table?
They moved the pool tables from the smoking room that Kelly was telling us about.
Yeah.
Your dad moved the pool tables, or like before he got there, and they moved the pool tables to some other room.
Well, I knew that had happened, but I didn't know where they were moved to. You're telling me that you guys found them?
Like, I would have found my husband laying on a pool table with his pants down.
Swanman back at it again.
I showed him all the videos. No, it was awesome, and I guess 25 years from now, when we have the greatest reunion, and we're all hitting each other with canes and what? Yeah.
We're still gonna party rock though.
Yeah, you damn skippy.
We're gonna party rock like Miss Diane.
Oh yeah. I was so glad that you guys helped my granny have a good time, because she doesn't get out of the house very often, and it was really special to see her actually have.
Yo, she was crunk as hell.
She was dancing. I was loving that when she was dancing. I miss Granny, man.
Oh my god, she twerked so hard. I thought she was gonna break a hip.
Yeah, we should do that more often. We can just go party.
We need to party with Granny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's that girl off of Bob's Burgers? Tina? Tina, yeah, she was
Yeah.
she was Tina twerking.
Mm-hmm.
She was it was great.
They were teaching her how to floss.
Oh my god, that was a whole ass lesson in the corner. You know, you got to do it like this. I never told your dad thank you.
Yeah, tell him thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I do want to make clear for the audience, because we were talking about allegations of spending the money on drugs and alcohol. All of the after party stuff was paid for out of pocket, not from the donations. And we didn't get any sponsorships because when they said we didn't need the money anymore, we felt like it would be a waste of funds to raise any sponsorships. So we canceled all the sponsorships, and all the money that was collected from donations was spent on putting the concert together, and everything else was out of pocket from all of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
But also, someone said we should do that more often. I'm just going to shout myself out here. I know two of you live far away, and probably this wouldn't matter, but I do host the karaoke show at the Moose Lodge every Thursday.
Bring Granny down. We'll go. I'll party rock with Granny.
I'll go.
I'll definitely go some night. I'll bring my uncle.
All right.
I'll make a deal with your dad. I'll sign up to be a member for the Moose Lodge, but every time I go there, since I'm driving 5 hours down there. Oh.
I'll bring Connor's grandparents.
If you become a member, you can actually go to any Moose Lodge in the country.
All the communities, they're all over the place. They're in every state. They're in every like most cities have a Moose Lodge.
Yeah, there's a lady who lives in Michigan who like 10 times a year comes to the Griffin Moose Lodge, all the way from Michigan. I think she has family around here or something. I don't know, but yeah.
So that's where it's at. Like if we go become a member of the Moose Lodge, all we have to do is tell them which outfit we're with.
I was gonna say if I become a member of the Moose Lodge in Griffin, your dad better offer me a part-time job in that kitchen.
He's trying to hire people for the kitchen. He was gonna hire me, but you're not allowed to hire family.
Nah, yeah, Moose Lodge.
They don't pay worth a shit though.
I'm not family.
Like if you get it, but if you get a job there, I wouldn't be able to get a job there. I'd have to work at another Moose Lodge.
That's lame.
Well,
anyway,
they don't want.
It's 11:30.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for coming on and talking for this long.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
Yeah, anytime, man, anytime.
Anytime, dude. Anytime.
The best of them.
Yeah, it
'Cause I fucking hate it.
family reunion, man. That's what it was.
Really.
Love you
That's
guys.
what it was.
Lunches.
That's the kind of energy that we
Yep.
have.
Love y'all.
Yeah, love
Love
all
you
of
guys.
Love you guys. Stay safe.
Y'all the bomb diggity.
Thank you for watching this episode of the podcast. If you want to support me, make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell, share this with your friends, leave a comment telling me what you thought about today's episode and what you want to see next. And you can also go to patreon.com/Xenerock and donate any amount monthly that you are willing to do. For $5 a month, you can get on my Discord server. For $15 a month, I'll shout you out at the beginning of every episode of this podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and the appropriate links will be in the description, like the link to the greatest reunion ever. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.